So right guys, welcome back to the channel. In this one I'm going to show you how to fit an Ultegra R8000 rear derailleur to your bike. So I'll run through the steps on that. If you've already purchased one, now if you purchase one and it comes in the box like this, as you can see on the end there, if it comes in the box, then you'll get a piece of outer cable housing with it. Now that cable housing, if you look at it before you go and cut it or anything, sometimes you could just fit the housing complete on the bike without cutting anything, because if you look inside, it's got a plastic lining inside it what pulls out of there. So be careful before you cut anything, or if you have to cut it down, you might get away. We'll just be able to put the housing straight on from the derailleur to the frame. Depends on what how your bike's set up. But if it's internal rooted or anything like that, you might have to cut it down. But be careful, because there's a plastic piece of clear plastic that pulls out from inside that cable, outer housing. But I say, if you get it and your derailleur just turns up like that in a bag, as you can see there, then there's no outer housing with that. But if you buy one, sometimes they turn up like this, and sometimes they'll turn up in the proper box. So if it turns up in this, you'll get the outer cable housing with it. So just watch out for that. So I'll go ahead and get started and show you how to fit it. So right guys, the first step you want to do is remove your chain off your bike. Now if you've got a quick link in the chain, then you can just go ahead and get your pliers for that and just take the link out and you take your chain off. If not, you have to get a chain tool and remove one of the links to take the chain off the bike. So that's your first step to fit in the derailleur. Right, so once you've removed the chain from the bike, before you go ahead and disconnect the cable at this end, make sure, go up to your lever end, pull back the hood like that so you can see, and make sure that the cable, I'll try and show you, don't know if you can see it or not, the end of the cable that's down in there, the little silver bit, you can actually see that. So make sure that the shifter lever, make sure that your shifter lever, before you take the chain off, or you can do it without the chain, doesn't matter, make sure it's just shifted over fully towards the smallest at the back. So your 11th tooth at the back, or whatever you got on the bottom, and it's not shifted over to your big ring at the back. It's like your 32 or your 28 or whatever. Make sure it's down to the 11 there, so you can see the end of that cable. Because if you go ahead and cut the cable and it's not, then you've got to hope that the cable isn't frayed or anything, your old cable in here, because otherwise it'll be a devil to get that back so you can see the end of the cable. So you're better off just make sure that you shift that down to your, so it's set, so the derailleur's over this way fully, like so, and it's down on, if the chain was on there, it'd be on the smallest one. So just make sure you do that. Just makes life easier. Right guys, so once you got your derailleur set in the position what I just talked about, you can go ahead and, depends on what derailleur you got or whatever you're fitting, but so this is a 105 Shimano, you can just undo your pinch bolt on it, like so, and just pop the cable out, the housing like that. So once you've got your cable disconnected, you're going to have to fit a new cable to it, because the chance of it being either in perfect condition or long enough, because these mount on the outside, as you can tell there, and on the new derailleurs they mount on the inside down there, so close to the spokes. So the chance of it being just long enough and in perfect condition by the time you cut and got rid of the cable stop on the end, so you're better off just running a new cable to get the perfect shifting. So I'll just go ahead and cut that off there. All we do is get your pliers out and just snip off the stop on the end, like so. I can go ahead and pull that back through, push it back through, and then just pull it back through like so. Work your way up to the lever at the other end. Once you got up to your lever end, should be able to push it out the end there. I'll do it with one hand, but should be able to keep pushing on the cable somewhere close to the lever, close as you can get. Obviously it goes in your bar tape, the outer cable, but keep pushing on it, pull that hood back and you'll see the end of the cable. So once you can see the end of the cable, just get hold of that cable and just keep pulling it until the cable comes all the way through. Once you've got the old cable out, then you can get your new cable. I'll show you that, then we can thread that through. Right guys, so once you're ready to install your new cable, you put the cable, well, pull your hood back like that, then just pop off the grey cover this side, like so. So the cover's off of there, and then you get your cable and you put it in the top hole there, the top there, where the cable goes through, and just work it so it goes through, and just pull that through there like so, and just keep going obviously until you hit until the stop comes in. And when you find the stop like so, just push the hood back a bit, push the stop down into the bottom slot and push it in so it disappears in there. Give it a pull from the other side, make sure it's gone all the way home till it stops. Just give it a tug on there, make sure you're happy with it, that's in. Then go ahead and refit your grey cover back on this side. Then you can go ahead and run the cable down through. If you've got bar tape still on it, obviously you just get the end of it and then find your end of the cable like so, and then push it down into the slot there. Obviously you can just about see it goes in there like so. Just feed that through, push that into there and feed it through like so. Just keep going till it comes out of the next piece of cable, and then pull it from that, which will be down by your head tube somewhere, however your bike's, whatever you got fitted. Keep going through, you can see it coming out down the bottom here like so. You can just pull it through, just get hold of that, just keep pulling that through until you've got the cable in. Then you can put your grey cover back on the inside there, and that's the cable done. Then flip your hood back down out of the way. Right, so once you've got your cable somewhere near the back, you can just leave it for the time being, just leave it out of the way. Then you can go ahead and take your rear derailleur off the hanger. So this just happens to be a 5mm hex, it's 105. Just undo that and just undo it completely and remove your rear derailleur out of the way. So right guys, once you've got the old mech off, derailleur off, then clean up, make sure your threads are clean there before you go and reinstall the new one, and just put a bit of grease on the thread of the new one just to help it go in, and make sure it don't seize in there, so when you want to take it off at a later date you can. So go ahead, screw that on. It's 5mm hex head. So right guys, once you got it tightened up, obviously make sure that you've got the bottom stop there hitting on your derailleur hanger stop, so it's on right. You can go ahead and tighten that up to the manufacturer's torque setting. Right guys, so once you got it on and it's torqued up, you can do your outer cable now. If it comes, like I said earlier, in the box, you'll get a new piece of outer cable, like I said, with a sleeve inside it, and you can go ahead and make sure either cut it to length, be careful when you're cutting it, or just use your old cable like this. Now obviously the old piece of cable, because the derailleur map's in a different spot, is going to be wrong. So obviously like that, it's no good. It's now, this is too long, the outer housing, so it needs cutting down. So it's better just to put a new piece of cable on if you've got a piece to hand, because 9 times out of 10 you can pull your cable stop off like that and look like that, and the cable will be rusty on the inside, so it's not worth using. So you might as well put a new piece on. So we go ahead and just cut a piece of that and put that on. Right, so we got the new piece of outer cable on. Obviously it's shorter than the old piece, just due to where the fact that the derailleur mounts differently. Now when you've done that, if you need to, you can go ahead and adjust your high and low screws, or hex heads as they are now. Now to do this, obviously you don't need a chain or anything on there, you can just do it with your hand. Now if you push on the derailleur with your hand and push it over towards your biggest cog at the back, where if that's a 32, 28, 25, whatever you got, you can line it up just by doing that. So to get it over, you got the low screw and the high screw there, which is 2mm hex head, so you can adjust those where they need to be. Now obviously high and low, and once they're in line you can tell by even putting, you don't even need a chain on there, and I can't really show you, but the camera, you're looking for the top jockey wheel there, in line obviously with the 11 tooth, and then also if you push it over you can get it in line with the biggest tooth cog at the back. So once you've adjusted that, you know that it's going to go where it should go from there over to there. So you don't need a chain on to do that, you can just do that by hand with adjusting limit screws high and low. Obviously the B screw, depending on what size rear you've got, if you've got a 32 obviously it's going to be different to a 25, so obviously a 32 is bigger round, 32 teeth, then you might have to adjust the B screw, the limit screw on that. So obviously you're trying to get the gap, it's all about, if you adjust that it just alters the gap between, you're just altering the gap between the top jockey wheel and on the outs on the biggest tooth at the back, biggest cog, you're just altering the gap between the top of here and the outside of there, and you want it about 6mm gap roughly. So if you just get a 6mm Allen key, when you can just set it up, we'll put a 6mm Allen key there, and if that'll go in there, that means your chain will pass through without fouling. There's enough room for the chain to go through when it's on the outside, the biggest at the back, where if that's a 25, 32, 28, whatever you've got, that's what the B screw is doing. So you just push it over by hand and you can see if the chain's going to pass through or not. Obviously if it doesn't, then it needs adjusting. So once you set your limit screws up, you can put your cable through the rest of the way. Obviously the cable now goes on the inside where the spokes through there, so just slacken off your Allen key and then pass the cable through like so until it's in the slot, just enough so the cable goes through. You want it, so once it's in the slot like that, you can go ahead and pinch the cable up. Right guys, so once you got your cable in position, all you got to do is pull on it. Just leave the derailleur where it was, over towards the smallest one at the back, the 11. Just pull on it, and at the same time just nip the pinch bolt up, 4mm Allen key, hex head. Just pull on it like that. Give it quite a tug on it, and then tighten up at the same time. And then you're pinched up in the right place then. Once you've done that, you can go ahead, all you got to do is go ahead to your lever and then just shift up like so, all the way across like that, and back down again. Now just repeat this step a few times just in case you get any cable stretch. It'll just get rid of that cable stretch, so do this 3 or 4 times or whatever, just to make sure you're happy with it. And as you can see, it goes all the way across every gear from the top to the bottom. once you're happy, just put it back down to the bottom there. Then what we'll do is we're going ahead now and refit the chain, and then we'll try it for the final adjustments once we've refitted the chain back on. Right guys, now this chain that you see here, as you can see, the slack, even though it's on the smallest cog at the front, chain ring at the front, it's about there now. You probably wouldn't be doing that, getting over too far over this way on the back, so you cross chain too much, but that's too slack. So that chain with the new R8000 rear derailleur compared to a 6800, obviously you had a 105 or a Dura race, it wouldn't matter. You might need to take a couple of links out of your chain, so be wary just in case you've got to take a few links out, like I'm going to have to do before you finish your setting up. So right guys, once you got your chain back on like so, to set the B screw up, if it needs to be adjusted, obviously the B screw's there, you can set that gap, but like I said earlier, between the top jockey wheel and the biggest cog on the back, just sets that gap. So all it does by turning it is it just adjusts the derailleur. I don't know if you can see that moving or not. You can see that moving, so it adjusts the gap. So you don't want it, it might well need adjusting depending on what you've got, but you don't want it, you know, like I said, you want a 6mm gap so the chain passes through and is not interfering with the top jockey wheel and making a hell of a racket. So you can go ahead and adjust that. Right guys, so I've shortened the chain by 2 links now, and it's spot on. So you might have to shorten your chain if you're fitting one of these, as your old chain might be too long, just due to the position of the derailleur now with the new design. So I'll say I've knocked 2 links out of it, and it's much better now. So I say with the final adjustments, when you're just going through the gears, obviously you want to check the large chainring and the small one at the front, checking both. But when you're going up and down the gears, if you're changing down, it's sort of hanging up between the gears, or you're pressing it once and it's just staying the same one, it's not changing, or it's just getting hung up slightly as it changes, not crisp change, then your barrel adjuster, I notice the cable, I've just wrapped it around here, the inner cable, just keep it out of the way because now it's pointing through your spokes. So make sure you do that out of the way before you go, otherwise you're going to get straight into your wheel. To do your final adjustments, like I say, if it's just getting hung up as you change for any of the gears, your barrel adjuster on the back there, tweak your barrel adjuster either anti-clockwise or clockwise, and just keep trying it until you get the perfect shifting through your, and make sure you change up between your chain rings at the front, and go ahead and check, and just all you got to do is adjust the barrel adjuster as you're doing it, as you turn the pedal by hand, just adjusting this, make sure you get a crisp change between them all. So right guys, once you're happy with your adjustments, you can go ahead and cut your cable off, and say it's in by the spokes now, so you just cut it, make sure you keep it out of the way of the spokes, otherwise you're wondering what the noise is when you start riding. So make sure you cut it off, and just bend it out of the way a bit of the spokes and put a cable stop on the end. So right guys, that's the install complete, as you can see behind me. Now the bike I fitted it to is running just 105 5800 shifters. So like I said, a lot of people ask, oh, can you fit it with like 5800 shifters, 6800 shifters, R8000 shifters, Dura race? It doesn't matter what you've got, as long as it's 11 speed Shimano, the shifters will work with 11 speed R8000 rear mech or Dura race, 9100 rear mech or 105, 5800 or 6800, as long as it's 11 speed it'll work. I say I could have whatever shifts, I could have Dura race shifters on there, it wouldn't matter. I could have Ultegra 6800 shifters, so it's all backwards compatible, that'll work with anything. So regards to fitting, just make sure it's better to put a new cable on it, If you're going to bother putting a new rear mech, you might as well put your fresh cable on, because it won't be long enough to reach, because now it's an inboard position on the cable. And obviously make sure that you don't have to take, you might have to take a couple of links out of your chain. I've fitted these before, but I've always fitted new chains on them, so I was just seeing with that old chain, as it comes straight off of a 105 5800 rear derailleur that was fitted to it, just to see if it needed a new chain, I mean if it needed shortening or not, so that's why I left it on there. So obviously it does, just knock a couple of links out is much better. It's too slack if it's the same size it used to be, so I had to just knock a couple of links out when it was spot on. But yeah, other than that, it's straightforward change. Just take your time with it, and you know, it's not difficult. But until the next video, remember to subscribe to the channel, and ride safe, and I'll see you on the next one.